Everyone, it's Carly Hill here, and I'm so glad to be in your presence once again. Today I'm here just to answer some key question, or one key question rather, that I get all the time. And that is, if you work in a nonprofit, how do you make money? Great question. Let's start with the word nonprofit, or the term nonprofit. It's a misnomer, I think, because when you're a nonprofit organization, that just means that the funds that you generate goes back into the mission, as opposed to going to a shareholder or owner, where profits directly correspond to the amount of money that a person is making. All right, so that's the key thing to understand about a nonprofit versus a for-profit. And so when you hear nonprofit, that makes you think, okay, because I'm a nonprofit, I can't make a profit, where the absolute opposite is true. What do I mean? In a nonprofit organization, it's absolutely critical that you are generating a profit so that you can either maintain your operations or so that you can grow your operations. Because a lot of times these organizations have really big missions that they need to fulfill. And what does it take to fulfill a mission? Money, right? It takes the moolah, the ching ching. Like, you need cash to run anything. So that's why you have people who have jobs like I have, right? So I do development at a nonprofit organization. That means that I spend my days figuring out how to get more money into the organization, through charitable gifts, foundation grants, government grants, events, all sorts of things. So that's why you have roles like that in nonprofits, and you might not always have those sorts of roles in a for-profit, because the profit that you're generating is directly correlated to the service you're providing. Where in a lot of nonprofits cases, that isn't so. Because, for instance, if you're doing a service, for instance, for youth, low-income people, or individuals experiencing homelessness, they can't pay for a service for you most of the time. So what does that mean? You have to find other ways to generate revenue to continue doing the work that you're doing. So that's really the key thing you need to understand about nonprofits and the structure as far as revenue is concerned. Now, going back to the question, if you work in a nonprofit, how do you make money? A part of running any business is human resources. You need to have staff. You need to have human resources. You need to have people in place to do the work that needs to be done. So because of that, in a nonprofit, because the mission is to get a certain thing done in the community or for whatever the cause is, you need people to do that. And so in order for people to be able to give the time that you need in order to see that thing through, they need to be paid a livable wage, or paid something so that they can spend the time that it takes. Because we all know that in order to live, it costs money. You need money in order to be able to live. It's really no way around it. So unless someone has inherited a bunch of funds, like most of the time people are going to be working for a living so that they can make money, so that they can pay their bills and eat and have shelter and clothing. So because of that, they need to be paid. And in a nonprofit, the funds that we raise, so when you hear donate to a nonprofit, a part of what you're donating to, aside from the programming itself, is to make sure that that organization has the general operating needs that it requires in order to run successfully. That includes paying for overhead expenses like the building or the facility that they're using, the website that they're using to share information about the cause, the utilities it takes to sustain the building, the staff, right? The people it takes to maintain the level of work that's required in order to see this mission through. All in all, if you work at a nonprofit organization, you are working for a business that does generate revenue in some way, whether that's a fee for service revenue, if it's possible, whether it's through grants, individual contributions, whatever that organization does to keep money. And you're a part of what is being paid for. You are a part of making that mission come to fruition. So that's why and how people in nonprofits make money. So I'll share a even more in-depth example. Again, I said I do development, so that means I work with grants a lot. And so with grants, sometimes in the budget of a grant, you will include the staff it takes to run whatever program you're applying for. If you're doing general operating support, that means you can use the funds to pay for whatever it is you need to pay for. But at the end of the day, all of those costs play a big part in seeing that mission through, which is the ultimate goal of a nonprofit. So there you have it. I hope that answered the question of how nonprofit workers get paid or why. If you have other questions or if you have comments about this, please leave them below. You can also shoot an email to info@essentialimpact.co, or you can slide into our DMs on Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case, and we'll be happy to continue having this conversation. All right, hopefully you learned something and hopefully you continue making an impact.